The Biden administration is grappling with a growing number of families and unaccompanied children arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border. As CBS News reports, U.S. Customs and Border Protection carried out more than 100,000 apprehensions in February, which is a 28% increase from January. Nearly 9,500 of them are unaccompanied children. The White House says it's trying to work out a more, quote, efficient and humane system. For more, let's bring in CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. Camilo, always a pleasure to see you. So tell us, why are more unaccompanied children arriving at the southern border, and how do these numbers compare to recent years?
Hi, Lana. I'll start with your second question. More than 9,400 unaccompanied migrant children entered U.S. border custody along the U.S.-Mexico border last month in February. That is a figure that we have not seen since the spring of 2019, when we saw this unprecedented number of Central American families and unaccompanied minors journey to the U.S.-Mexico border. In addition, according to statistics obtained by CBS News, we know that more than 7,000 unaccompanied migrant children were sent to U.S. government overseen shelters. That is a record high for any February in the history of the unaccompanied children's program within the Department of Health and Human Services. So these are very high numbers. And to tackle your initial questions, which is why these children are coming in such large numbers now, I think there are a lot of factors that we have to consider. One is that the country conditions in Central American countries have just not changed materially in recent years. Many of these children flee poverty-stricken parts of the region, including indigenous communities in Guatemala. Some of them flee gang threats from gangs that try to recruit them. And we saw last year the region was hit by two devastating back-to-back hurricanes, and the region is still recovering. So there are many factors that could be driving this uptick. And we know now, too, that the Biden administration is allowing these children to undergo their immigration proceedings here in the U.S., unlike the Trump administration, which invoked a public health law to expel these children to Mexico or their home countries.
I want to ask you a bit more about President Biden and the effect that the Biden administration has had on these increasing numbers. His top advisor on U.S.-Mexico border policy actually addressed this issue during a White House briefing on Wednesday. I want to play what she had to say.
The border is not open. Going forward, we will continue to look for ways to provide legal avenues in the region for people needing protection while we continue to enforce our laws. This is a process.
So, Camilo, what kind of logistical challenges does the administration face, and how can authorities safely process these children out of Border Patrol facilities?
Well, the Biden administration is certainly facing plenty of logistical, humanitarian, and political challenges at the moment at the U.S.-Mexico border. To provide some context, unaccompanied migrant children under U.S. law are supposed to be transferred to the U.S. Refugee Agency within 72 hours of them being taken into custody by border officials. However, the U.S. Refugee Agency is currently holding more than 8,000 unaccompanied children, and it is scrambling to expand its bed capacity, which was limited during the pandemic to enact social distancing measures. So they are expanding bed space. They're looking at reopening influx facilities, including in Florida, and potentially using a military installation in Virginia, but those efforts are not meeting the current demand. We reported today that more than 3,500 unaccompanied children were taken into custody during the first 9 days of March alone. So the trend has continued, and the Refugee Agency is currently struggling to house all the children that are coming in.
All right, Camilo, we have time for one more question. I want to ask you about the Biden administration's decision on Tuesday to stop enforcing the 2019 public charge restrictions on green cards. Explain this to us and how this could impact the legal immigration process.
Yes, Lana, this is a massive policy reversal on legal immigration. This was arguably the centerpiece of the Trump administration's efforts to severely curtail legal immigration to the U.S. The public charge rule gave U.S. officials broader discretion to reject green card applications from immigrants the government determined relied or could be at risk of relying on public benefits like food stamps or housing vouchers. Now, the Biden administration stopped defending the rule in court, and that triggered a series of court actions that have now suspended the policy once again. And now, U.S. immigration caseworkers have reverted to Clinton-era guidance on public charge, which were more narrow in scope and did not factor in food stamps and other critical programs that many immigrants in the U.S. use, including food programs.
All right, Camilo, thank you.